All right, so starting the drilling process on the 1/2 inch, or it's 1/2 inch by 5 inch angle. And what I've done is I've kind of marked out my lines and pre-drilled some pilot holes so that the tip of this bit, this is what's called a roto cut from Kimball Midwest. There's your information. And it goes all the way from 5/16 to 3/4. And basically the tips come off. You've got a couple of washers on top that keep it from locking down. And these things are ridiculous. We're gonna get this lined up, clamp it down, and then we'll shoot this in real time. Well, unfortunately, that bit goes about 3/8, so I've got to hit it from the back side, but that's how long it took to get through that sucker. Another 2 seconds it would have been through. I just don't have the depth. So 5 more on this one, sorry, 4 more on this one, and then we've got the frame to drill. So onward and upward, something, I don't know. Yoo-hoo YouTube. Yoo-hoo YouTube. So I've got my 5 inch by 1/2 inch angle. Those are 5/8 holes. And what I did is I set them up here, and I took a 5/8 bit that fit perfectly alignment wise. There's no slop. And the tip, you can see it, marked my pilot holes so I can get things kind of centered. And I'll tell you what, without a drill press, punching these holes sucks. Even in the frame of the truck. So I drilled the first one back there. It took me a while. I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I'm holding the drill, and I've got a 36-inch clamp on it, and it seems to be working pretty well. So we'll see how fast this goes. Sure has saved me a lot of work, so I can't complain. Well, that wasn't half bad. The only problem is the clamp won't reach any further than the first 2, but that gives me 4 out of the 10 holes that I can drill with a C-clamp, with a pressure clamp. So I like that. Next. All right, so I figured out a little cheat for pushing these, drilling these holes. Because after about the second one, crammed up under my tanks and in between the frame, I'm done. So what I did is I started it by hand. I've got one more to push up here, but basically I started it by hand. And that was a little crooked, we'll have to straighten her out. And then what I did is I just took a bar against the, put a clamp on the frame, basically getting a lever, getting the drill started. Where are we at? And then basically just pushing on the drill. I swear it works easier than that. Basically lining up and then just slowly leveraging the drill in, and holy crap, it works so much better. It's taken a while, but I finally got things kind of put together. So I bought this square stock with this flange on it, cut it down to length, and I've got a plate that's going to mount to a cross member back here, I've got that all tacked up, or I guess clamped up. I have got my holes drilled finally for my cross members. And those are kind of bolted in and set in place. And I'm sitting here just making sure that things are square as I can get them. And we're gonna tack it up, tack it all together, and then what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna have to drill some holes back here through this guy. I'll mark it and then drill them, I guess, before I weld it. We'll see. We'll see. I got some holes to drill to mark that, or mount that plate to the cross member so that the back end has some support. And I'll put some gussets up in here, basically across here and across here. And that's gonna be our hitch. So we'll see how that works, tube. It's gonna sit a little high. Might have to fabricate a drop down to tow miscellaneous vehicles, but yeah, that's where we're at. All right, what are we working on today? Marine adhesive, marine and exterior adhesive, special stuff. So what I'm working on is actually getting the slide outs lined so I can put my wiper seals on. I'm gonna do Line-X on the face of the whole rig, but the sides with the wiper seal sitting here, and rubbing on this, I needed this as smooth as possible. This side, and the top and the other side. So 4 sides. And the Line-X has a little bit of a texture to it, so my fear was the wiper seals wouldn't bite as well as they should, or seal as well as they should. So we're using the Filon, which is that fiberglass material that comes on a roll. It's 102 inches, I think, wide. And you can see I've got the first piece cut for the roof on the passenger side. I've got the roof cleaned off and scuffed up with a sander. I've got the piece of Filon cut and scuffed up and cleaned up. Got my alcohol prep cleaning station, but yeah, this is how it comes out. Just a giant big honkin' roll. Stuff's only, you know, God, 1/16 of an inch thick. I don't know, what is that, 1 mil, 2 mil? So yeah, I'm gonna take the adhesive. It gets troweled on with an 1/8 inch trowel, and I'll weight down my Filon and get this thing so I can seal it up and get it weather tight is my goal. I've got my water tanks in. I've got them kind of plumbed in for the fills and the overflows, and they will eventually go back down to my water pump. I'm gonna try to get that done before I go. Electrical's in the same place. I'm using a battery to jump the slide outs. I've got my slide outs beyond where they're supposed to go, so I can get the Filon on the roof and on the sides and on the floor. But yeah, we're trying to get this thing somewhat weatherproof. The shower pan, you can kind of see that has been all 4 sides, or 6 or 8 sides, all the sides have been Line-X'd. The spot where the composting toilet's gonna sit, the outside edges, the inside edges, the underside, all the seams. Obviously I've got my electrical coming up for the bathroom that's gonna get sealed off when I build the walls. But yeah, there's the shower pan. We'll see how far we get. But today's project is getting the Filon on the rig since I have nice weather and it's not raining. Man, the weather changes fast. It is cold. Good thing I was able to get the Filon on before the weather started changing too bad. It'll get warm here in a couple days. But the Filon's on, and I don't know if you can tell or not, but that's so smooth. It's fiberglass gel coat, and so you can see this slide out seal slides against that really well, and that's why I wanted to use this material on the sides, the top, and on the bottom. But I have the trim in and installed on the slide outs and the Filon all the way around. And like I said, the slide out seals work great. And my fear with using any type of Line-X or Rhino lining or whatever on this is a rough surface would not seal quite as nice as that does. So there's the Filon and the trim on the slide outs. Both sides are done, turned out really nice. I have a small addition into the coach. I have my stairs that are a semi-permanent temporary addition. And basically what I did is I took some aluminum diamond plate and I scored it with a table saw, circular saw actually, and ground out the cut at a 45 and then bent it, and it worked out great all the way around. And what I did on the back side is I just welded up the bend. Unfortunately though, and then I added some struts to kind of strengthen it up. And unfortunately, one of the pieces I bent cracked through. This stuff is not really meant to be bent, and I suppose if I'd put some heat to it, it would have been a little nicer. But all in all, it's worked out great. Structurally, it's great. And what I did is I built a receiver under the door, and this thing basically, let's see if I can get this. So basically, this thing just kind of slides out. Actually, all it does is slide out. That's it. And then I'll hang it up inside, and then to put it in, no, really, there it is. Just takes a little finagling, but that's it. And I'll have to create a leg system for this for the different heights that the back end of the truck may be at. But that's worked out pretty well. It's a solid run. Let's see. It's a solid run all the way in, and the steps are consistent all the way up. So that worked out great. And then the last little thing is this guy. I've actually towed with this. It worked out great. I don't know if you can see or not. I'll get up here a little bit, but I have a gusset on the top side of this on both sides. So I have a corner gusset on both sides. And then on the bottom, I also have these little gussets on the internal frame. You can see those gussets are welded in. And I have little tabs, so if I do end up with some extra weight on this thing, these tabs will actually hold this onto the main rail. And then it goes all the way back here where it actually bolts up. It's welded, this cross member's welded into the tube steel all the way to the other end, and then bolted to this cross member that is in the frame. So yeah, pretty stout. It's worked out great, no issues. It fit great, it's tight as a drum, and man is this thing heavy. So yeah, trying to get this whole thing up and lined up to get those bolts in, and then these, so I have 10 bolts holding it at the end here, and then it cantilevers out about 1.5 feet. That's where this guy comes in handy, is if for some reason I have excess weight out there, this will actually drop down and pick up the extra weight on the frame instead of just the bolts. So pretty happy with it. Need to pull it down and get it powder coated, sandblasted and powder coated. It fits, it works great. Wires are in temporarily, tow chains are in temporarily. I've used it once, it worked out great. So that was on the shakedown test. So there's the hitch, there's the steps, and there's the Filon. I have no idea what's up for next week, folks. No idea. Is that dirty? Maybe. Did I crack that? No. Anyway, peace out.